Hi class, this is section R.7, Rational Expressions, Part 2, Adding and Subtracting Rational. Okay, so we're up to example 4. We want to perform the indicated operation and simplify. For part A, the indicated operation is addition. So when we add fractions, remember we need to have a common denominator. This first problem is nice because we already have that common denominator. So I already have a 3x plus 2 in both my fractions. So I just simply add the numerators together. I'm going to add my like terms, so 2x plus x is 3x, and then a negative 5 plus 4 is negative 1. Good. Nothing cancels here, right? I want to factor and then cancel, but 3x plus 1 does not factor. Neither does 3x plus 2, so we're done. Okay, part B. This one is similar except we're subtracting, but notice we already have that common denominator, which is handy. This time we're subtracting, so I'm going to do a little bit of work in the margin because we need to now distribute this negative. Okay, so 5x minus 4 minus x minus 1. Okay, so we need to remember to distribute the negative. Distribute the negative and then add like terms. Okay, so 5x minus x is going to give me 4x, and then a negative 4 minus 1 is negative 5. Good. And then again, this is already in lowest terms. I can't factor, so nothing cancels. Good. The next two, we no longer have common denominators. Okay. I want to write this, so I'm going to just rewrite my first fraction. So I have 3x and then x minus 4, and I'm adding 2x over x plus 3. Okay, x minus 4 and x plus 3 are in factored form, okay? And I want these two denominators to be the same, so I need to multiply the first fraction. I need to multiply the denominator by x plus 3, but remember, whatever you do to the denominator, you also need to do to the numerator. Okay, the second fraction, excuse me, we need an x minus 4. Okay, so we write that in both top and bottom. I like to use a different color ink for this part. Some students get this step correct, but then kind of forget what they're doing, and then they'll come back and they'll cross off the x plus 3's because this is no longer reduced. Okay, but remember, we don't want them reduced because we need to have this common denominator. Okay, so x plus 3, x minus 4 is going to be my denominator. I'm going to, again, do a little bit of work kind of in the margin. So I need to distribute the 3x. So I'll get 3x squared plus, oh, sorry, this next one's going to be a 9, right? So I have 3x squared plus 9x. And now I'm distributing a positive 2x. So I'll get 2x squared minus 8x. And then I add like terms, and I'll write that here in the numerator for my answer. So 5x squared plus x is my numerator. This is actually okay as my final answer. I'm going to factor an x out of the numerator, and then I have 5x plus 1. But notice this doesn't cancel with anything in the denominator. Okay, which means that these two answers are equally simplified. Either one of them is okay as your final answer. Okay, good. Part D, we're going to start off the same way. So let me just kind of rewrite the question, but I'm leaving extra space here because I know I need to write in some factors in the numerator and the denominator. Okay, x plus 5 and x minus 5 are my two denominators. Okay, so the first fraction is missing the x minus 5, so I write that in top and bottom. The second fraction is missing the x plus 5, so again, write that in top and bottom. My denominator is x minus 5, x plus 5. In the numerator, again, I'm going to do a little bit of work here in the margin and then write the answer in here where I'm ready. So I'm going to distribute the 2. So I'll get 2x minus 10 And now I need to be careful because this negative gets distributed with the 5. So we might want to switch this to a plus and then put the negative closer to the 5 so we remember. Okay, distribute the negative 5 to both, so we'll get minus 5x minus 25. Okay, add like terms together, so I have negative 3x minus 35. Good, and this doesn't, the numerator does not factor. We could factor out a negative, that's fine, but you could also leave it like this. Okay, good. So again, if you have different denominators, see if they can be factored. These were all linear, right? X to the first power for these denominators. So we wrote in what was missing. That way I have my common denominator. Okay, I want these two denominators to be the same. So write in what's missing to get your common denominator. Whatever you write into the denominator, you have to write into the numerator as well. Distribute, be careful if you're distributing a negative. Distribute, add like terms, that becomes your numerator. Sometimes you'll be done at this point, but if it's factorable, factor the numerator, see if anything cancels. Okay, good. 2 more. All right, the first fraction here, again, I'm just going to rewrite it. So I have x over x minus 3, and I'm subtracting x plus 1. And now I have x squared plus 5x minus 24. So I need to factor my trinomial. I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to be negative 24 and add to be 5. 8 times 3. This doesn't work, right? Because I'm going to get, I'd have to have a negative 5. Oh no, I'm sorry, this is correct. These multiply to be negative 24, so that's good. Add to be positive 5. Okay, good, so we're good. X plus 8, and then x minus 3. Okay, another hint that I was on the right track. Notice that the x minus 3 is common to both. Okay, that's going to be the case. There'll be some overlap between your fractions. Okay, so x minus 3 is already in both fractions. So for my first one, I need to write in x plus 8 because that's what's not here. So write it top and bottom. Okay, I now have a common denominator. So my denominator is x plus 8 times x minus 3. I need to distribute my x, so I'll write that here. I have x squared plus 8x minus x minus 1, right? So remember, this negative gets distributed to both terms in the numerator, so minus x minus 1. I'm going to add my like terms together, so I'll have x squared plus 7x minus 1. That numerator is not factorable, right? I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to be a negative 1 and add to be 7, and nothing does that. Okay, so the numerator does not factor, which means that this answer is in lowest terms. Okay, good. Part F, same thing. So I'm going to rewrite the question, but as I do, I'm going to factor both the denominators this time. So x squared minus 5x plus 4. I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to be 4, add to be negative 5. So negative 4, negative 1. One thing that's nice is that at least these problems are the happy face problems, right? The leading coefficient is 1. So once I get my numbers, I'm done. Okay, plus 4 over x squared minus 1. So this is the difference of two perfect squares, x minus 1, x plus 1. Okay, good. Now we're to the point where we just write in what's missing, okay, because I need to have a common denominator. So for the first fraction, I need an x plus 1 here in the denominator, so write that top and bottom. The second fraction is an x minus 4 needs to get written in. Okay, again, notice that there was overlap. Both of the denominators already had an x minus 1. Okay, so when you get to the step when you're writing things in, if you have to write in more than one binomial, you probably made a mistake. Okay, so my denominator is x minus 1, x plus 1, x minus 4. Okay, I need to distribute in the numerator and then add like terms. So 2x squared plus 2x and then plus 4x minus 16, right? So I distributed my 2x, distributed the positive 4. Okay, add like terms. So I have 2x squared plus 6x minus 16. Okay, let's see, I'm going to factor a 2 out, and I'll do that here. I'm just doing kind of work in the margin again to factor out a 2. And this is x squared plus 3x minus 8. I'm doing this to see if my answer here is in lowest terms. Okay, nothing multiplies to be negative 8 and adds to be 3, right? To get negative 8, it's either going to be a combination of 8 and 1 or 4 and 2, but nothing would add to be 3. Okay, so we could either leave the answer as it is, or with the 2 factored out is probably the better answer. This way it's clear to the reader that our answer is in lowest terms. Okay, kind of out of room here, but I think you get what I mean. Okay, so either these two answers is good for your final answer. This first one is considered lowest terms because nothing cancels, right? You can factor, but nothing is going to cancel, so it is in lowest terms. Okay, good. And then the next two are ones that you're going to complete and turn it through Canvas. Okay, perform the indicated operation. So for part G, notice that you don't have a common denominator, okay, but no factoring is involved in G because you're just going to write in what's missing. For part H, you do need to first factor, write in the term that's missing, okay, and then go from there. All right, good luck. Let me know if you have any questions.